Hi there, Facebook land, and everybody else that might be watching out there on our YouTube channel. This is Tina Thompson from the Toma Chamber and Visitor Center, and today I have Lisa McKenka from Mayo Clinic Health System joining us. We kind of felt as we're moving along here, part of this important part of the conversation we need to be having is kind of protecting our mental health during this time. I know everybody's world has been kind of turned upside down, and what are some kind of things that we need to be doing to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of other people too. So Lisa, can you maybe share some thoughts that you have with us at this time?
I have been thinking about this a lot, and I've been getting a lot of questions from patients and from staff members and things like that. And I think one of the most kind of things that I'm getting is a sense of a lot of frustration, a lot of sadness, a lot of disappointment. We were all kind of trucking along, doing our own thing, and then the world just kind of abruptly stopped for a lot of us. I'm assuming many people were kind of in the same boat where I was in, where suddenly this information just started coming to you, and getting daily emails and things like that, and steps that you need to take and changes that you need to do. And so I thought I would share with everybody a really helpful strategy um, that I like to use in my practice, that anybody can kind of do. It's one of those easier said than done type things. But hopefully it will kind of get you out of these feelings of, this isn't what I wanted, or this is unfair, or I wish it were different. Because the fact of the matter is, we're all in this together and we don't know when the end point is. So this strategy comes with a lovely abbreviation, and it's called llama, just like the animal. And so the first L really asks us to label what we are thinking. When we label what we're thinking, that kind of gives us some distance. So it's very different to say, I'm anxious, as opposed to I notice that I'm anxious, or I have a feeling of anxiousness. And even if you don't have that word, you can still label, you know, I notice that my head hurts, or I notice that my chest is really tight. So that's the first step that we want to do. We want to recognize and we want to label what we're doing. Um, the next thing that we kind of want to do when we're doing llama is we want to kind of let go of struggling with that. Dr. Russ Harris, who has many other videos on YouTube, if you like this concept, has a really fun video called the struggle switch. And so what we kind of want to do is we want to let go. We want to stop trying to push that feeling away, or um, kind of not feel our chest or not feel our head. We want to give it some space and give it some room. The next thing that we want to do is we want to kind of make space for that. We want to be able to hold that feeling. And so the way that I describe it to people, what I say is it's kind of like holding a fine crystal glass in your hands. You don't want to hold it too tight because then you'll break it, and you don't want to move your hands too far out because then you'll drop it. Other popular ideas is maybe how you would hold a hedgehog. You have to hold those guys really carefully so that you don't get pricked. And you want to kind of do that same thing with your emotions, with your feelings, with your thoughts. You want to make some room for them. The next step that you want to do is you want to be mindful, which means coming really into the here and now. So, like I said, I'm a huge fan of YouTube. There's a bunch of videos that you can look at. One of my favorite ones is Notice 5 Things. So you notice something that you can see right now. Like right now, if you're watching me, you can see my bookshelf. You can see some pictures that I have on the wall. Notice something that you hear. So you can hear my voice. Depending on how good your speaker is, you might be able to hear the fact that I have air that blows into my office. Notice something that you can touch. What can you feel right now? I can feel my cardigan on my wrists. What's something that you can smell? Do you have a scent in the room right now? And is there a taste, either a lingering taste, or are you eating something right now or drinking something right now? Um, I had a tea this morning and I can still kind of taste a little bit of that tea in the back of my mind. And so I'm just going to bring myself into that moment. And then that last A is that we really want to approach what matters. So that means that we're staying focused on what our goal is. And our goal can be something big, like continuing to not pig out on snacks while you're stuck in your house. Or it can be something small, like I'm going to get 5 minutes of sunshine today. Um, and you can decide how, whatever that is that matters to you. Um, and, and so that's how all those things kind of connect. We label, we let go of the struggle, we accept those feelings that we have, we remain mindful. And doing all of those things, we can still approach what's important to us. So, despite feeling down or anxious or frustrated, we can still get out of bed, put on some what I call day clothes. This is my day clothes. um, Go get 5 minutes of sunshine. Um, get through helping your kids with that assignment, or completing that project at work, or socializing with friends. So we can still hold all of those uncomfortable feelings and still do what we need to do. So that's kind of the strategy that I wanted to share with everybody today, because no matter what aspect of life that we're in, like I said, we're all figuring this out together. And when we accept that we are all together, that it's not just you that's frustrated or disappointed or anxious, or maybe you were already anxious and you're really loving this. We all kind of feel that way. And I think we kind of lose sight of that, especially when we are being isolated. That we all, feelings are universal. Thoughts tend to be the same. So yeah, let's see if we can kind of move forward with that strategy.
Thank you. I absolutely love that. We are, in our house, we certainly have a brand new world, and I'm guessing we're like a lot of our viewers out there. I have 3 kids that are learning how to do school from home. I'm taking up considerable space in our basement, which is kind of a family area that they really don't have as much access to anymore. So that's a little frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working from home without any natural light, which is hard. My husband's working upstairs, so that's again taking kind of some of our family space and has caused some stressors in the house. But I think, we're trying to take a walk every day. We're trying to reach out to our my kids' grandmas that are all stuck at home without anyone to socialize with.
Right.
So calling each other, checking in on our friends that are single or also stuck at home, and just some of those things, but just trying to breathe. And I think you hit it, at least for me, you hit the nail on the head with, we're all in it together and we're all experiencing these very unusual things kind of at the same time, but it's hard to recognize that when we're not supposed to be together,
Right.
We would normally maybe get together and have a conversation about some of our thoughts. Now we can't do that. And I think it's a whole new world.
Yeah.
Do you have any maybe stress relief techniques you could share with us, as far as maybe breathing or yoga, or any research on how those things affect stress levels?
So, yeah, definitely. I am a huge fan of research. So I think that was a perfect question.
Oh, good, because I
Um,
felt bad kind of springing it on you here.
no, I love research. So we know that deep breathing is really an essential part of how we calm our bodies down. I started my career almost 14 years ago with some of the most stressed out individuals, which were teenagers that had been removed from their homes and placed into a group home. And so deep breathing really does work. So, what happens when we get anxious, depressed, when we have really strong emotions, the back part of our brain back here, we have this thing called an amygdala, and it's a threat sensor. And when we have big emotions, that goes off, and we see the world as dangerous. So, how you shut it off is with simple, deep breathing, right? I always tell my patients that you never go out in the woods and you see a bear and you go, "Look, that's a bear." You get scared. So, and that's the kind of deep breathing that we want to do. There's lots of different ways to breathe. And so I'll kind of give you a few because some might work for you and then that one might not work. The first one is just simple counted breaths where we want to breathe in for about 3 to 5. So, and then breathe out for a little bit longer. And then you just follow it. Some people, that works really well. A different way, if you have a hard time counting, is simply, I don't know how well you guys can see me, but to put your hands on your diaphragm, which is right below your rib cage,
Okay.
and see if you can just feel the air there. And if you're doing it right, as you can tell, my shoulders aren't moving. When we're breathing anxious, my shoulders move. So paying attention to that. The last one that sometimes if you can't do that and you can't feel it is just simply to sigh, to force yourself to sigh. And if you do that enough times, any one of these, what happens, and my brain already knows how to do this, is you yawn. And like I said, you never see a bear and yawn. So you want to keep breathing until you get to that point where you say, "Wow, I feel a little sleepy," or "Oh my God, I just yawned." And that will really calm you down. And you can take breathing anywhere. So you can breathe in your car. You can breathe at your desk. You can breathe in your office space.
Mhm.
You could breathe while you're sitting next to your son who's telling you for like the fourth time that he doesn't understand how to do division.
I
You
lucked
can
out
do all of those things.
I lucked out and married a math teacher on that one, so that one I'm good with.
That's awesome.
But and I found myself doing some of um, just that sigh and realizing that I'm holding on to tension and stress.
Mhm.
And then the relaxing feeling that you feel once you kind of realize you've been hanging on to that tension and letting it go through breath.
Right.
Um, Now, I'm a person when I get stressed out, I hold down and clam up and kind of abandon exercise and that kind of thing, which is the opposite thing we should do.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of stress relief related to exercise and just walking and fresh air and that kind of thing as well.
There
Correct?
there is. So, again, I love research. And so, a long time ago, and I can't find it, but I know it's somewhere in my basement. I have an article that was done in the early 90s, shortly after Prozac came out. And what that research kind of showed at that time was exercising, just moderate exercise. So we're not even talking about full on sweating, I can't breathe, oh my God, I'm tired exercise, but just enough to get your heart beating
Mhm.
is about equivalent to 20 milligrams of Prozac.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
you only have to do it about 3 times a week. And so you're getting that same level of endorphins, you're getting that same level of serotonin, as a really, really, really small dose of an antidepressant. And I haven't seen any updated research. So you have to keep in mind that that study is about 30 years old.
Sure, sure.
um, but I think that whatever exercise looks like for you. So I work with a variety of ages. The youngest that I see is about 2. So when we really talk about exercise, we're just talking about, jumping up and down
Right.
safely and doing somersaults and running around in circles,
Mhm.
all the way up to individuals that I see that are in their 70s.
Mhm.
And so, really, what we're talking about more with stretching there is maybe working on some simple yoga poses where we just kind of raise our arms up and we safely touch our toes as close as we can to touching our toes.
Mhm.
Even that, gets your heart moving, gets your body pumping, helps you feel a little bit better.
Mhm.
So, we also know that vitamin D is really important. There's been more and more research coming out that really is kind of questioning, where does vitamin D deficiency fit into especially symptoms of depression?
Mhm.
Because when your vitamin D levels are low, you have fatigue,
Mhm.
your concentration goes down. Um, you just kind of feel bleh. Um, and I've had some patients that have actually gone to their primary care doctor, done the appropriate lab tests, and found out that their vitamin D was deficient and been able to get that corrected in coordination with their primary care doctor.
Mhm.
And then they'll say, Lisa, I just feel better. And we know that one of the easiest ways to get vitamin D is actual sunshine.
Mhm. Yep. I'm
So,
vitamin D deficient. I take supplements that my doctors kind of monitored my levels. So, and I completely relate to that. It's
yeah,
not helping that I'm holed down in my basement without any natural light right now, but
right.
that's where we're consciously trying to, get outside and spend at least 45 minutes a day out in some fresh air.
Yeah.
I truly believe that's kind of what's helping me personally get through this right now. Um, I'm just thinking of, you know, I mentioned I have, 3 kids at home. Any advice, and I know this is off the cuff, but any advice as to how we need to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of each other? Um,
Yeah. I actually have 3 kids at home too.
okay,
So I totally get that. Like, and my kids are in 2 different school systems. So we're trying to do regular school and we're trying to do Montessori.
that's fun.
And fun combination. And so, you know, I think this is a good time to really think about how we're modeling for our kids what we need to be doing. So, and I will admit, like, didn't do well at that. I'm not with a teacher. I'm with a cook.
Mhm.
So I just kind of said, like, hey, this is your responsibility. I'm going to go to work. And um, but I think that kind of goes back to if we've ever ridden on an airplane, the stewardess always says, make sure you put on your mask first and tighten the straps before helping other passengers.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of part of what our national message is right now is that we are setting the standards for others. So when you practice social distancing, when you practice safe hand hygiene, you're setting the model for your kids. And that's a great way to show how you take care of yourself
Mhm.
is by doing those practical steps. Um, you're the one that's going, let's go outside for 45 minutes and go take a walk.
Mhm.
Or you're the one that's saying, you know what, buddy, division is hard. I'm going to take these 3 deep breaths really quick before
Mhm.
I help you again
Mhm.
and go through that process. And then it's keeping your routine.
Mhm.
And that's where I kind of dropped the ball is I kept my routine. And then I had a really eye-opening conversation with my very smart 8-year-old daughter. And she said, I don't know what to do all day. Daddy doesn't really structure things. So I don't know how long I'm supposed to do Raz Kids, and I don't know how many math worksheets I'm supposed to do. So this past weekend, I made them a schedule and kind of laid it out. And so they get to pick what their day looks like, but it goes from 9 to 3. And so I leave at 8, and that's wake up. And then when I get home by 5:36, I expect that they've been through their day.
Mhm.
So I'm modeling that. And the other thing that we've actually added in is I've been able to maintain my childcare provider so
Oh,
that because their dad and I had a really good conversation about the fact that I think he needs a break. I think he just needs some time away from the kids.
yeah.
And so prior to being able to kind of rearrange that, there was times that I would come home and I would say, okay, you go for a drive, go for a walk, go hang out with, go to one person's house, go hang out for a little bit.
Mhm.
Let me take over because I've been gone all day and I think you need to step away.
Mhm. So we talked a little bit about kids and modeling for them. My thought process then goes back to so much of our older demographics that are now at home, that were maybe taking care of grandkids,
Mhm.
that are feeling isolated. I have my grandmother's 92 and is pretty isolated right now. And her house used to be the place where all of us would stop and visit, and now it's gone from that to almost complete isolation. And I know that that's got to be hard on her, as well as so many of the other people in that demographic that we're trying to protect.
Yeah.
I know we've been trying to call her every day, my kids especially. But any advice as to how we can take care of our older friends and neighbors at this time?
So we can do lots of different things. I think that there is nothing wrong with a phone call, a text, a message. I'm one of those like quirky people that still likes to use the U.S. Postal Service. So I actually have a stack of blank cards in my house at all times.
Mhm.
So maybe just writing a quick card, thinking of you and putting it in the mail and letting somebody go out to the mailbox and they get mail and they get an envelope and they open it up and it's not a bill.
Yeah.
And it just says, I'm thinking of you. Hi.
Yep.
And um and or reaching out, seeing if anybody needs anything. I know one of the things that I noticed this morning on the news that they were talking about was food insecurity. And a lot of times, individuals, especially our older individuals that are on a fixed income, are still struggling with food insecurity. So if you know somebody that might be in that situation or you suspect it, feel free to, if you can go out and go hit up, because I know all the little libraries are now stacked with food pantry items. If you could grab a couple things and maybe go drop that off at the front door and ring the bell and, kind of do a really nice, ding dong dash to your neighbors and
Yeah,
friends.
a new twist on it.
Yeah, so they open the door and there's maybe some non-perishable food or some toilet paper or some paper towels or some Lysol wipes.
Mhm.
Just to kind of show I'm thinking of you and I'm still connected to you.
Mhm.
And doing that. And I think this is kind of a great time to really explore what technology can do.
Mhm.
Um, my parents are in Kansas City, Missouri, and so we only already get to see them twice a year. And they were
Mhm.
supposed to come for Easter, and so that's obviously been turned off. And because my parents are in their 70s. So, But, like I'm making it a point to text them, and my parents have figured out Facebook Messenger. So they're messaging my kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm trying to get them to remember that we need to message back grandma and grandpa
Yeah.
or send a picture or send a video or do something.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking, we've got grandmas on our side of the family that are at home. Then we've got, groups of people that maybe are not technologically savvy.
Mhm.
I'm a member of the Toma Lions Club, and thinking of some of our members as well that might not have iPads or um, even really good internet that they could stream with if they're a
Right.
little bit more rural. So I think picking up the phone is so important to some of that demographic right now, especially when they're used to meeting at a regular basis and used to seeing people come in their homes on a regular basis and getting hugs from grandkids. And now not only are you isolated, but you have the absence of physical touch as well.
Right.
And so I just picking up the phone seems so important to me right now, and really thinking of those friends, neighbors, club members, coworkers, church members, even that might not have anybody necessarily picking up the phone and checking on them.
Mhm. Right. And like I said, that's where you can send a card if you know where that person lives, or actually the white pages still exists. So even if they're not technically savvy, but you are,
Yeah.
you can still go on the internet and use the white pages and maybe track down that church member.
Mhm.
And put a card in the mail or send them a letter, because that may be more in their comfort demographic.
Mhm.
And make sure that you return in, you put on your return address so that they could write you back.
Mhm.
I know we haven't had pen pals for about 30 years, but this is a great time to develop a pen pal.
We can bring it back.
Yes.
Do you have any other thoughts you want to share with us at this time?
I would like to kind of just make sure that people in the community know that mental health services are still available. I think that was kind of one of the first questions that I started getting from patients is, if I need help, what do I do? And the bottom line is that me and all of my coworkers and everybody else, like at Gunderson and Marshfield Clinic, like we're all here. We're still working. The National Suicide Hotline at 1-800-273-TALK, which is 273-8255, is still being staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Great Rivers 211 is still being staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Mhm.
The Hope Line, which is the text-based version of the National Suicide Hotline, which is 741-741, is still being staffed. If you have acute mental health service needs, so you're really feeling unsafe, or somebody around you you're really concerned with is acting unsafe,
Mhm.
that is still open. The programming is a little modified to stick with guidelines,
Mhm.
but it's still available. As you can see, I'm wearing my spiffy little headset.
Yeah.
I am doing virtual visits with patients.
Okay.
All of my coworkers are, whether we're here in the office or we're working from home.
Mhm.
So we're here for you. If you need things, if you have questions, mental health is part of our health. That's why we are a department in Mayo Clinic Health System. And that's why we have services where we do coordinate with family care and other departments. Um, because we recognize that mental health is part of your health. So
Mhm.
if you're not feeling mentally healthy or emotionally healthy, please recognize that we are still working. We're still here for you, and you are still our priority.
I think that's so important. Um, and I'll be honest. I guess I didn't even realize that all of the resources that were available and still 100% in effect.
Yes.
I think now more than ever, we need to really focus on taking care of our mental health, and understanding that no one really has answers right now. And that's okay to be anxious about it and nervous and kind of scared of what the future might be.
Right.
We're all feeling it at the same time.
Right. And that's why I decided to share that llama acronym. I'm going to share
Yeah.
it one more time just to make sure that we're all clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
We label, let go, accept, be mindful, and approach what matters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great strategy when we don't have that end goal, when we don't know when this is going to stop or when things are going to get better.
Mm-hmm. Lisa, thank you so much for your time today. This will
Yeah.
be available on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube page. I'm hoping that people, share it and listen to it. Certainly take care of yourself in all this. I'm realizing as I'm hearing all of this that you've got to have some pretty big shoulders right now to help everyone else kind of get through this. And you're one of the people that are going to help alleviate some of the worries for people as we move forward.
Yeah.
Thank you for your work.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to be a part of this. And just so that you know, like I walk the walk. So everything that we've talked about today, like you're going to see me doing. So if you happen to be out in Sparta on the weekends, like I'm doing my self-care. I
Yeah.
was training for a 5K. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I'm still training. You can still see me running around the Ben biking statue. I'm out there.
That's awesome. This
Yeah.
time I'm just going to end our broadcast. Thank you, everyone that was
Yeah.
able to watch. And please take care of one another. Obviously, be kind, but think about those people out in your community that might not have anyone checking in on them. And if you can, pick up the phone. Thank you.